Okay, let's see. Make these pipes 28 inches. All right, I think that'll work. Let's see if I can do this without having to redo it later. Jeez. Ugh. Hey guys, welcome back to Wally Redos and Project Good Enough. All right, today, tackling the cooling system. I really didn't mess with this thing much this past week. Tinkered with it a little bit. I found out the O-rings on the injectors. I took the injectors out to inspect them, and the O-rings and everything just like expanded like twice their size. So I think the old gas got to them and ruined them. So I ordered a kit and some other things as well. I'm just waiting for that stuff to come in. So hopefully we can fire this thing up again in this video, but I don't know, we'll see. If I don't get the parts in time, I may not. The biggest thing today is just trying to get the cooling system done. Let's get that figured out. All right, so I've been on quite the journey here this past week, reading up on all this fuel injection and how it works and how everything operates and how everything's tied together. And I want to thank everybody for your comments and your suggestions as to what to look for. And I have gone over as far as vacuum leaks and all the major, the normal major stuff. I've gone over all of that. But one of the big things is we've got to get the cooling system figured out on this thing, because without the water, that temperature switch is a major component for these things as far as what it's telling the computer and how much to fuel everything. So without any water in it, I think it's definitely throwing it off. But first up again, let's get this cooling system, get all the hoses and the radiator and all that stuff figured out first. First things first would be the radiator. Now, I kind of went against what I originally said with buying a radiator for this thing. I was actually looking at buying one at O'Reilly's, because the thought in my head was if I'm out on the road somewhere and the radiator fails, I want to be able to go to an O'Reilly or an AutoZone and pick up another one, just because there's locations everywhere, right? But the radiator that O'Reilly sells was $400 for the aluminum and plastic tank radiators. So I started rethinking that a little bit, and I just went ahead and ordered one off of Amazon. And this thing got really good reviews, and it's a massive radiator, all aluminum one. I'm hoping this is going to work out. Worst case scenario, it's pretty easy to get Amazon delivered anywhere anyway. So I figured it's probably no different, other than the warranty aspect. So what we got was a giant aluminum radiator. So these things are for the OBS Chevy trucks with big blocks in them. This thing has a core of 34 inches by, I think it's 19. Yeah, like 19 inches, 19 and a half inch. And it's a 4-row radiator. There was a guy that left a review on there that has a dually, crew cab dually, and a giant cab over camper, and he pulls a boat. And I think he lives in Southern California or something in the heat, but he said he had no issues with this thing keeping his truck cool. I figured for $250 it was worth taking a chance on it. And we'll see how it works, I guess. One thing that I did order as well was a new water pump. So I got this from CVF, is the company. They make front drive systems for engines, belt drive systems. So this is a full aluminum, supposed to be a high volume. I guess we'll find out. Just because the radiator is going to be a little bit further away than normal situation because of where the engine's placed. I wanted something that was a little more high volume, and also probably a little better cooling anyway with the aluminum. I always like having an aluminum water pump. Now, as far as the hoses and the rest of the cooling system, I'll get into that in a minute. First thing we need to do is get that radiator mounted. All right, let's do a quick test fit here, see how this thing fits in there. Be extremely careful here. I've got the stock rubber bumpers down on the bottom. Looks like it fits. Ooh, it just clears my core support brackets. Whew, barely. Okay, well, that's good though. That means I engineered it right. AKA guessing. I had no idea I was going to run this big of a radiator. All right, that's right on the tank edge there. That one is too, that looks good. Okay, I see some trimming we're going to have to do. Boy, this thing is massive. So it's definitely taller. They do mention that in the comments that they are taller, which is fine. I'm good with that. And as you can see, my brace right here for the core support, it just clears it. Got about a 1/4 inch worth of room there. Everything else down on the bottom looks fine. I don't see any interference issues. Looks good. I would like to kick it back more. It's quite a bit of gap here. I think what I'll do is I'm going to trim this. You don't need no box cutters. Better than nothing. If I don't do this, sure as heck I'll hit it. Easy. Easy. Okay, looks better. Can't see nothing. It's definitely tight. It's big. All right, that'll work. I definitely don't think those stock fans I have are gonna fit, but we'll figure that out later. Now, my brother-in-law gave me these fans. These are off like a 08 Tahoe. I don't know if they're gonna fit or not. We might have to modify them, but that's okay. We can do that. Let's see, these are, 5.5 inches. Okay, well, I may have to chop all this plastic up to get them to work, or I may not end up using them at all. I don't know, we'll see. I'll worry about that later. All right, now these are the original upper radiator mounts. Obviously, these are not going to work. We have a slight discrepancy in height here, which I kind of expected. So, I don't know if I'm going to use the original rubbers for these or not. They're a tiny bit small, but I could make them work, I guess. I don't want to do any spacers or anything. That would look ugly. I don't like that at all. All right, I'm going to play with this for a minute, see what I can come up with here. I think the biggest thing with these aftermarket aluminum radiators is how you mount them. You got to make sure that they're not clamped down tight, that they're just kind of floating. I think if you put too much stress on these tanks, they crack. I actually bought one of those Champion radiators for my Cougar that I built a couple years back, and when I used the stock upper mounts for the Ford, it actually pulled down on the tanks a little too tight, and it actually split one of the welds on the tanks. So I'm really going to make sure that when I install this thing, that this thing kind of floats just a little bit, and it's got some give. The bottom feels really good. The rubber's pretty soft down there, and it feels pretty good. Let's see, this was this side. I could take this and cut it off. I don't even know if I want to use these to begin with. They don't fit this very well. I could cut this though, and not that I want to cut on a brand new radiator. All right, I got an idea. I had some other rubber radiator support bushings, and I trimmed the radiator right here just a little bit, and these fit around these tanks perfectly, better than those other ones do. So I'm going to put these on there, and then I think what I'm going to do is I've got some 1x2 tubing here, and I'm going to trim this because this fits inside of here perfectly, like that. So what I'll do is I'll trim this out. I'll just trim it and step it down. And then this will go over that rubber and then down here to the core support, and then I'll weld a piece of flat strap onto this, and then I'll have it bolt up to the core support here. So I'm just going to mark all this out and trim it out. And I think that should work pretty good. I've got this thing taped up, pulled against the core support, and I got a piece of big thick cardboard in here as my spacer. So right, so I got that piece of tubing cut. And I just kind of folded this leading edge over, so now this thing will fit in there. And that should hold the rubber, keep it from sliding out anyway. And then I've just got this rough cut right now. So that will go there, this will go over it. And I just got this cut off kind of roughly. I need to go a little bit shorter so it kind of squeezes down, so it pulls down on the radiator just a little bit. But we should be pretty good. I think we're close. And then I'll box all this stuff in, make it look good, you know. But you get the gist of it. All right, got everything welded up, boxed in. It's fairly decent anyway. They look good. I just realized I made a nice fancy set of door handles. It's pretty much what they look like. So, all right, now let me just find a transfer punch. That in there like that. Of course, it's so hot out, the tape unsticks. I need to get the air-powered one now. All right, perfect. It's got just a little bit of float to it. I'm gonna leave the cardboard in there until I get the other side done. All right, I think that's it. Yeah, that turned out really nice. It moves just enough in the rubber. Okay, radiator I think is mounted, it's done. Now we can move on to the plumbing. I'm gonna change the water pump first real quick and get that out of the way. And then we can move on to figuring out the hoses, which will be fun. All right. These brackets are kind of old and primitive. It's not like the new stuff. Of course, you got all kinds of spacers in here, and I'd like to find a serpentine belt setup out of a later model truck. I see them pop up every once in a while on Marketplace or something, you know. I guess in hindsight, when I had this engine stripped down, I probably should have just put head gaskets on it when I did it. I don't think it's having a head gasket issue right now, though. I think it's just steam. I forgot to when I cleaned this engine. I sprayed it down with foamy gunk or engine degreaser and some of that purple power as well. So I know some of that stuff got down in the water neck. I think that was probably a big part of what was smoking and coming out, because it wasn't like engine smoke, you know. It was more like a steam kind of, like a light smoke steam almost. So I think it's fine. All right, well, this is fun. Gotta get this power steering pump out of the way. Gotta drop that out. There we go. Like that. That bracket. Then this can lift up out of the way. Something like that. Okay, stay. I don't know how much water is gonna piss all over me when I do this, but we'll find out. Oh, good, nothing. Pump is on. Shiny new aluminum pump. I put a new temperature switch in also for the computer. And then I got another one over there that I need to replace that I broke when I put the motor in. That's just for the fan though, no big deal. I'll put that one in later. I'll do the bypass hose and the thermostat. Once I figure all that out, I gotta throw the belt on real quick. So I know how to run the, well, I'm probably gonna have to put the shifter in too, so I know how to run the radiator hose. It's gonna be a little tight in there, that's for sure, but we'll figure it out. Maybe this one, maybe. All right, morning guys, back at it here. Just sitting here trying to think how I'm gonna do this at the water neck here. I put the shifter back in so my cable and everything is in here, so everything is in here that needs to be, so I can try to figure out this water neck and how I'm gonna go through here with it. I've got two different ones. This is kind of what came on the motorhome originally. It's more of a vertical. And then I bought one at O'Reilly, more of a standard, you know, just off to the side, 45-degree deal. So I'm trying to determine which one is gonna work better for my needs. I've got some extra hose and stuff. I'm gonna have to go to O'Reilly and pick through, once I figure out how I'm gonna run all this, I'm sure I'm gonna have to go to O'Reilly and pick up some hose chunks and whatever and chop them up. But boy, radiator hoses are expensive now. Boy, I guess they charge by the bend now is what I was told. So yeah, good times. Anyway, let me show you what I'm doing here. All right, so as you can see, everything's in place here. Got the belts on and the cables all run. And I was looking at using the vertical one right here. Obviously the cable's in the way, but I'm not worried about that. I can move the cable anywhere I need to move it. It's got plenty of room. This one's a little more challenging because I kind of need to come up and then do a hard 90 and then down through here. I'm gonna have it go this way because I'm gonna run the pipe for the return on the driver's side. This one might work. I might be able to get it to work. This one might work a little better, but the hose would go in between the belt right here, so that's not convenient. So if I blow this AC belt, I'll have to take the radiator hose off to change the belt. So that's not exactly the best route either, but it does keep it lower, and it wouldn't be so high up through here and then through here. I kind of want to figure this out first, that way I know what direction the hose is coming out, and then when I do the rest of the piping, it'll be a little easier to connect, I think, at least in my head right now. All right, as for the rest of the cooling system and the piping and what I'm gonna do, whew, this one hurt a little bit, I'll be honest. So what I'm gonna do is I've got some 1.5-inch copper pipe here, and I bought a 10-foot stick of it because that's all they would sell me. It was either 20-foot or 10-foot. Then I got a whole bag of different fittings. I've got some 45s and some 90s, that type of thing. $250 for all this stuff. I was like, ouch. So yeah, the bigger copper stuff is really expensive. So my plan is, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run the copper pipe underneath the truck between the engine and the radiator, and then I'll use radiator hose to connect to the radiator and then to the engine side, of course. I kind of like that look of the copper pipe. I've seen that on a few rat rods, if you will. It's kind of a cool look, and I figure it's an easy way to do it. I looked at like galvanized pipe, that type of thing, but I figured, I might as well use copper. Stuff doesn't rot, you know, and it lasts forever. All right, I went down to O'Reilly's and picked through all the radiator hoses. I was trying to find something that had a nice hard loop bend like that. This one won't work. It's a little too tight. So it pains me, but I'm gonna have to use a flex hose, unfortunately. I did find this one. It looks like it's gonna work out just fine. So this thing's got a nice tight 90 to it, and then of course the flexi part of it will let me kind of bend it to go underneath the floor here. The problem is with this water neck is I have to run this type of water neck. These thermostats on these big blocks are really small in diameter, so this thermostat housing holds that thermostat down. If I run a normal thermostat, the opening is too big and the thermostat will pop up. So I have to run this thermostat, unfortunately. But that's okay, this is gonna work. Basically what I'll do is I'll just take the part number and I'll write it down, and I'll put it in a file and carry all this stuff in the truck, you know, that way I know exactly what to get if something fails. but this will work out just fine. Unfortunately, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not a fan of flexi hoses, but they work just fine. All right, guys, I think I've got something cooking here. Let's see. Try to... All right, after about 10 trips to O'Reilly's, not quite, I had to go down there a couple times. They let me rummage through all their hoses, and I tried to find the right bends and whatnot, and I think I finally got it figured out. I've got it mocked up, well, at least the return line anyway. And take a look. And what I did was I ran that copper pipe right along the frame here, and there's a clamp right here that I welded to the frame, and then there's another clamp in the front right here that I welded up and got it clamped in. So now that flexi hose comes down over the top of the belt, just below the floor perfectly into a 45 right here. And then it comes forward, of course, into a 45 here, and then another 45, and then up into the radiator with just a small chunk of hose here. That leaves me plenty of room in here for the fans and everything. Everything is tucked out of the way. It's real close to the firewall right there, but it's not gonna move that much. It's got plenty of room. I was trying not to use any 90-degree fittings. I really didn't want to, just for that water flow. I was just trying to make it real nice and smooth back to the radiator. Even though I think a 90 or 2 would be fine. That radiator hose has a 90 on it, and the neck has a 90. So that's not bad. So only 2 90s is pretty good. I'll pull it all back apart, clean it all up, and get ready to sweat it all together. All right, let's start sweating this together here. I don't think I've ever sweat pipe this big before. I always go way overboard when I solder pipe. I am not a plumber. It's one of those things that still just doesn't make sense to me. It just does not seem like it should hold together, you know, like it does. But it does. Trying to make sure I got plenty of flux in there too. Of course, it's so hot out right now, it just melts out of it. All right, I lost track of where this one went, so I think I gotta put it back in the truck and see. Or it should be that one. All right, got it all soldered together. So you pipe and fitter guys can make fun of me all you want. So as far as the ends go and holding the hoses on, I was gonna buy one of those bead rollers that they use for turbo systems and whatnot. Just, you know, it rolls a little bead into the end of the tubing, and I thought, I don't wanna spend $45 on something I'm gonna use one time. So I just went ahead and I cut some little slivers of the copper pipe, and then I just soldered them on there on both ends. Then just sanded them all down smooth and gave them a little bevel so that hose will slide on there. I just need something for the hose clamp to bite onto, you know, so it doesn't pull the hose off. So I think that'll work just fine. But I'm pretty happy with this. It looks pretty good. It's kind of cool. I like the copper radiator hose look. It's pretty neat. And I'll just leave it alone. I'll just let it turn green, match the truck. All right, let me throw this thing together. That might work. All right, guys, welcome back. A couple days here after work. Trying to figure out this lower pipe. Just trying to figure out the best routing, if you will. So yeah, I got two different choices and I'm just trying to determine which one will be best. Another hot one this week. So I went ahead and got my summer dew going here. Definitely helps in the summertime, shave all my hair off. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna have to run another flexi hose off the water pump. And that's gonna allow me to do a nice gradual bend. Then I'll run the copper pipe up along the frame rail here. So I'm just trying to determine the best way to come off of the water outlet. I'm either gonna go through here and go around with a couple different 45s. It's a little more challenging going this way. Or I was looking at coming off the water neck with a 90 and then come out a little ways so I've got plenty of room for fans. I could come out, do a 90, go over, do a 90, and then go over. So like I did with the other one, I'm trying to keep the 90s to a minimum as much as possible. I just want it to flow nice and easy, you know. I'm gonna try the smoother method first with the 45, see what I can come up with. I'm gonna have to use like 3 45s here to make it work, I believe. All right, I managed to get it through here. It worked out pretty good. So I just got a little piece of rubber hose here. And on the pipe, I put a clamp, drilled a hole in the frame, bolted this to the frame right here. And then now it just kind of snakes over and then down underneath. And that's just coming down through here. Jogs around and goes right into the flexi hose and then right into the water pump. So I think that's gonna work out okay. I'm gonna go ahead and mark everything out, and then we can pull it back out and sweat it all together. Is it sweating, soldering, soldering? I just say soldering. I know it's soldering. It's a tongue twister. All right, let me mark all this, pull it back out again. Kind of made a mess out of this one, but it looks all right. Got a little too crazy there. All right, everything looks fine though. I filled it up with water to test it. I know it's not pressure, but at least to see if there's any major leaks in it. Got it all washed out. I got my ends on there too. Hold that hose on there. So I think we're good to go. If you're worried about the length of this, you know, and how far back the engine is to the radiator, don't be. This is pretty common practice down here in the Southwest, especially with the off-road desert trucks. What they do is they run the radiators in the back of the bed up high, and 9 times out of 10, a lot of those guys use a stock water pump. I got a friend of mine that does a lot of desert racing, and he ran a stock small block Chevy water pump for years and years and years with no issues whatsoever. And that was with the radiator in the bed up high, so that water has to pump uphill all the way up to it and then return back. So the stock water pumps definitely can handle it. So, all right, let me throw this together and see how it all fits. With the exception of hose clamps, it's all in. Looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that's gonna work just fine. It's really close right here. There's like a 1/16 of an inch of clearance underneath this bracket, so before I put the hose clamps on it, I'll be able to kind of twist the pipe a little bit and get it away from there, but it is really close. All right, with the exception of the bypass hose that I just got to throw on real quick and then hose clamps, I think that's going to take care of it. And I'll figure out the fans. I'm going to do that a little bit later. I'll figure that out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm either thinking about ordering some Spall 16-inch, dual 16-inch Spall fans. Those work really, really well. Or I'm gonna I think I'm gonna try to chop up those original Tahoe fans, see if I can make them work. I just don't know. That could turn into a whole headache if I I think if I do that, but I don't know. I'll see what I can come up with. If it keeps me from spending money, I'll make them work. All right, I think for now, I'm just gonna call the video. So you're gonna have to wait till next time before we really fire this thing up for real and let it run for a little while. So I did order a bunch of parts for this thing, and I'm just waiting for a couple more things to show up. So I'm not ready to fire this thing back up again anyway in this video. And honestly, this week is just supposed to be absolutely brutal here. So I'm gonna kind of tone it down a little bit. You might just be getting shorter, quicker, shorter videos moving forward if this heat's supposed to stay up. It's supposed to be 118 tomorrow, and it's already like 113 right now. So it's like, I'm just gonna wait. I'll get done what I can get done on the weekends, you know, at least early in the mornings, but we'll see what happens. But next video, we're definitely firing this thing up, though I should have all my parts by then, and then we can twist the key on this thing and hopefully start working all the bugs out of it. At least that's what I'm hoping. So I pretty much ordered a whole bunch of sensors for it. I ordered new fuel injectors for it. I ordered a throttle body rebuild kit for it. I'm basically going to throw the parts cannon at it. I might as well and do it. It was only like $300 for everything. And then that basically leaves everything but the ECM. So if the ECM is bad, then we have to replace the ECM. The ECM's a couple $100 if I have to replace it. One thing I am worried about with the ECM is the check engine light, or the service engine soon light, is on all the time. Even jumping with a paper clip, jumping the A/B terminals to read codes, I can't get it to do anything. So I'm a little worried that maybe the ECM is shot. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll go ahead and put injectors in it. You know, I'll clean the idle air control valve. It may need to be replaced. And then the oil pressure switch started leaking, so I got to replace that. Yada yada. Anyway. Plus I did get a 3-wire heated O2 sensor. I got to get that run as well. But for now, at least the cooling system is in. The hoses are in. I can put water in this thing and hopefully run this thing for a little bit longer next time. All right, guys, please like, share, subscribe if you don't mind. I do appreciate the support as always. And leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. We're getting close to driving this thing. I can't wait to at least just roll it down the driveway at least a little bit initially. You know, we're really close. So we just got to get the bugs worked out of this thing. All right, which takes time. All right, that's normal with a build. So, all right, guys, have a great day. See you next time. Get out there, go outside. Just go do one thing a day. I know it's hot. It is here anyway. So all my Arizona peeps I've been talking to lately, get out there, go do something. Just one little thing, one at a time. All right, guys, see you later.